to my studio. We're going to be continuing on with the Just Junk 5x5 Junk Journal series. If you have not been following along and you want to follow the steps, maybe learn some new techniques and tips, I will leave a link to the playlist for this series. And we're going to go back to our signatures and start working on the cover in this session. So these were the two little fold out pieces that we had of the tissue box. And I was kind of, back and forth about how I wanted to do this. So I have decided how I want to cover these. So I want to go ahead and get that done and then do a little bit to the cover so we can start talking about putting the book together. And I decided to use some of my scrap wrapping paper and use the back side of it so that it's blank, and cover this whole thing with that, and then it makes for a good writing surface. So that's what I'm going to do here on the inside of both of these. The paper is not quite long enough, but that's okay because I think I'll just put a little strip of the book page across the ends there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that paper. I'm going to use my paper trimmer, and I think it's about 5 inches wide if I remember, or maybe this is not. Let's see. Nope, actually it's about 4 3/4. So I'm going to trim that for this one at 4 3/4. Let me get it where I'm on a straight piece of paper. This side's straight. I'm going to go over that to 5 actually, because this is the paper's a little crooked and I can cut any excess off. And let me see if that's going to be enough for this one. Yeah, it's going to be just enough. Okay. So I want to glue that down, and I think I'll just do the glue stick because this is wrapping paper and it's kind of thin, and it might kind of buckle if I use a wet glue. So I'll use a drier glue on it, and I'm just going to really soak that whole thing up with glue. And place the paper on. And then I can, this one may cover the whole thing, I don't know. The other one, it seemed like those little tabs were sticking out. They were not as, just going to try to burnish it down really good everywhere. Hadn't really planned on filming today, but I normally don't on the weekends just because there's a lot of interruptions, but it's kind of quiet here right now, so maybe I could get at least one more segment. I have one to edit, and I was hoping to finish this up in one segment, but I bet it's going to be 2. I don't think can come together that quickly. We'll see. I'm just trimming off the excess here, and then I'll do the same thing on the other inside of that tissue box, and that gets that covered as far as the inside of here goes. And I don't have my ink over here available that's handy right now. Kind of cleaned my studio this morning. I just spent the morning kind of puttering and doing some cleaning and stuff. Make sure that's down. I see a little air bubble in there. That gets that covered. And so now I'll come back with my ink and ink around all these edges. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and fold this one up and repeat that process on this one. Now this is the inside of my book, and I want to cover my inside with the dyed paper. And I think I'll just cover the ends here. Let's see, do I want to cover this part first though? Because I think I'm just going to use a piece of the book for that part. I'm going to need to get my ink. Hang on, let me grab that. Okay, since I've got the ink now, I'll just go ahead and, or I think I will. Let's see, I hope that pad's not dried up. It's getting pretty well used. That, I didn't bend that back, so there's a little trimming that needs to be done right there. There we go. Here. Just kind of ink it up however you want to. There's that one. Go ahead and do this one, and then I'm going to ink up a piece of paper to put here in the middle of that. You can see I got an air bubble in that one. Let's see if I can work that out. Again, need to fold and trim here. There we go. Okay, and we'll add the little finishing touches to that. I'm going to take a piece of this little excess book page here, and let's see, I'm going to kind of just lay it there and to put on the inside of that spine, lay it there and cut. And I'm going to cover this book page with, whoa, tools just rolling everywhere, with glue again. And I'm going to put this down on the spine, lining it up with that top. Oops. Everything's coming undone here. Add down in there. Get some over here on this edge. And some over here on this edge. Kind of trying to go down that little spine thing right there to make sure. Missed a piece of glue right there. Okay. And then I'm going to bend this back a little bit and go ahead and ink around this. This really doesn't show. Your signatures are all in there, and you know, it really doesn't show, but I just like to cover everything just because. Okay. And now I want to put some paper, and I'm going to use the tea stain papers, and I want to, let's see, where's it? To glue this completely down here to cover that inside. So once again, going to use just the glue stick and get this paper on there. burnish it down really good to make sure that I got it everywhere. And we'll cut the excess away. Now, if you'd have wanted to, you could have, look at that little, you could have left some of this and folded it over. I just didn't want to do that because I think I'm going to edge the whole book in stitching, so I didn't really feel that I needed to do that. Let's get another piece and do this side over here the same way. I want some of that bright green inside the book. Trying to find the most straight edge to put there. Just get it burnished and trim again. I need to get me up here those scissors that have the, what are they? Are they Teflon, or that the glue and stuff doesn't stick to? I have seen some people using those, and I'm like, I need to look those scissors up. That might be a new must, because man, I get tired of scissors getting gunked up, and you know, you're constantly peeling these little weird things off of there. Gotta make sure all that's down as well as it can be. I can see some little bumps, that's why I'm going back over it with my fingers. And now I will also ink on the edges of this. Get back and get that little middle part there. Whoops, I went way over on the ink on that one. I guess I can do that on this one too then, since I did it over there. Just got ink happy, I guess. Okay. And that's going to take care of the inside portion of the book. Now, we're going to want to do something on this outside, and I need to make sure that it's going to stick down like it's supposed to. Right there. When I bend it, it needs to bend correctly. Now, I may end up having to put some tape or something down that, right there on the seams. And I can do that, but I may have to make some faux washi tape to put on there. Okay, there's the inside of our cover. Now, let's think about the outside. We could use papers that we've got. We could use a lot of the book pages and things like that. One of the things that you could also add is if you want a fabric element to your book, you can add, use a piece of discarded clothing or an old linen or something like that, you know, because we're talking about the premise of this journal is it's made from junk. It's made from things that you would normally discard. So, you know, I wouldn't want you to go ahead and get, you know, a piece of, you know, regular fabric or whatever. Of course, you're not doing this for a challenge like I am, so you can use whatever you want to. If you have a piece of, you know, gorgeous brand new fabric, then, you know, by all means, use it. You know, I'm just trying to... the thing of this journal, the purpose was that I hear a lot of people say they don't have a lot of money to invest in supplies, or they don't have the right kind of supplies and things like that. Well, this method here shows that we're using discarded items that you can make a cohesive, beautiful journal. Now, it could be any size. I just chose a 5x5 because I wanted to make it fairly small. But you can make it as large or, you know, medium, small, whatever size you wanted. But this was the size that I just decided on for this challenge. So, I'm thinking that I would maybe like to add, you know, some fabric to this cover for stability, but I would need to find something that's going to kind of blend in with our, excuse me, with our book theme. And since I am using the images that are going to be the little animals and stuff, I would kind of like to do something that kind of, you know, fits in with this theme. So I guess I need to kind of think about that for a second, and let me see what I have that's discarded, and I'll be right back. Okay, I went back over to my little pile of supplies that I had collected, and I had forgotten that I had these things. I have the bubble wrap, I have some of the cardboard, and some of this netting that's from a potato bag. And so I'm going to see, I think that mesh right there, is this sewn on there? Is this, I don't know if I'll have enough to do what I want to do here. Let me see. This piece is not really usable because it's the label is stuck to that. So I thought, I wasn't happy with any of the other solutions that I was thinking of for that cover, so I thought, well, then let's just do something different. So let me see what I think of this idea. Which that could be cool if, you know, that could actually be cool if you covered one's oven. You know, put it in a journal that had the, you know, I think I'll keep that part. It can go in the scraps. What I was wondering, because this is very textural, is if I could glue that down and then use some of the white paint over it so it would leave this very textured surface underneath here. And I would really only need to do it, let's see, I'm trying to see if I can do it without getting that thick part. Since I'm doing something to the front, I would really only need to do it on part of here. So I'm going to cut it just a little bit past that and get out some matte medium and paint matte medium on here and glue down just this, because the front's going to be covered different. You know, this would give a good fun texture to the side and the back. So let's grab some of that and see what we can, see if that'll adhere. And whoops, oh, that's not good. Paintbrush just fell apart. Well, we'll do what we gotta do. I'm gonna put some under it and some over it, and hopefully it'll stick. Be kind of gloopy with it because this is a thick thing. And see if I can't get that just to glue down in there where I could get the paint to go over it, the white paint, to make it, whoops, a textured element. Let's see if that will work. Now I'll probably have to let that dry because I'm sure the heat gun would not, and the plastic would not adhere well to that. And actually, I might want to go ahead and do it on the whole thing just in case that shows a little bit. And this is, I'm covering the front, so I'll make sure that this is my front. Whoops. I'm just scooting everything everywhere. I'll make sure that where I've pieced this, that it's my front. And you won't really see that, but it might give it a really cool texture. Now I probably could have just laid this down on top of there and pull that up a little bit so I don't have that double edge thing there. I probably could have just painted through this like a stencil. Like you probably could just use this whole piece here like it's a stencil. I'm hoping that it will adhere down really well, and I'm sure once you get the paint on top of it, that's going to help too. I'm going to cut off a little bit of this excess and just see how that acts. But we could have, let me grab some white paint here. We could have also just, like I said, used this as a stencil. I'll put it on the back of this cardboard so you can see it. But probably could have just used some white paint and painted through here and had a nice little texture surface. And so I think I'll wipe this piece off and keep it, and we may do that on some of the inside of the book. Just gives a nice little texture, so we could use that as part of a stencil. Now I'm going to pause you while this dries, and I'll be right back and we will go over it with some paint. Okay, this is dried a little bit, and I can tell that it is going to adhere. That's what I was concerned about. Was it going to adhere, or was it going to lift? And it looks like it's going to adhere, so I thought we would just go ahead and I can paint over it while it's wet and let the whole thing dry. So, and it may take more than one coat because this is red. This netting is red. I had one of these little bags. It was like an onion bag, and it was more of a gold color, but I could not find it. And I may have used it, but I thought I still had it in my stash. But I think that just by doing this with the white paint and a little bit of ink, that it's going to give us something of a burlap texture is what I'm hoping for. We'll just see, since this is an experiment. You never know when you're doing stuff like this, you know, how it's going to go. But I can tell it's going to need more than one coat of the white paint. And you can paint yours any color you want to. I'm just adhering within the challenge. And if you hear me referring to the challenge and you don't know what that is, it is the January Just Junk Journal 2 challenge at Dear Julie Julie. And I did this challenge last year, and I made a journal. I'm actually still working in it. I made a journal for myself, and I really enjoyed just kind of the challenge of it. It was a good jump start for a first project of the new year, and it wasn't something I had to, you know, really think about or plan for really, because you're using discards and junk, so, you know, you don't have to. And I just enjoyed it. And so when she was doing it again, I thought, I think I'll do that again this year. This journal is going to be a giveaway journal once it's done. Hopefully, if it turns out good. If it doesn't, we'll do a different giveaway. But hopefully it'll turn out great. Okay, so I can still see where some of that red is coming through, but I'm wondering if on after a couple of coats, if that will. I can't dry it because the heat tool will totally obliterate that plastic. I'm thinking that probably it might take 3 coats, but I'm thinking that after some coats of paint that this will. So what I'm going to do is pause you right now. I'm going to sit this outside in the sunshine to let it dry. And I'm going to go ahead and do all the coats of paint I need to, and I'll let you know how many I did, and we'll move on with getting this cover done. Okay, I decided to come back while I was waiting on that to dry, and I'm doing just a little bit of a brush on a piece of this cardboard, and this was just a cardboard box, and I took a little tool and kind of, you know, pushed in the cardboard like this, and you can peel that paper out, and you know, a corrugated box or something. And so now I'm just going to take some paint and hit this here and there to get a little bit of a messy coat here and there, because I'm not sure exactly which piece of this I'll use, but I do know I am going to use a piece of it. And I'm just going to almost like a dry brush, like we did on the boxes that we had in the book. And just kind of different directions and stuff. And I'm also going to let that dry. Actually, I think I could draw this with the heat tool, and we could measure it. We could go ahead and work on this part while we're waiting on the other part to dry. So let me get a heat tool, draw that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to use this pearl cotton. This is like stuff that you crochet with. I can't tell you what size it is because I can't see where it says that in there. But this is what I'm going to use to bind my book. I normally used a wax linen, but I'm going to use this because I want to use it in other places in the book. So I know that my cover is 5 by 5. So I think I want to do a little, I was trying to decide if I wanted this on the spine, but I think I want it on the cover of the book. I need to decide where I want to cut a piece of this out to use. And I'm sort of liking this area over in here. So I probably want to cut it at a, just got myself in that goo. Probably want to cut it at 4 down that line to about, I may just do a 4 by 4. Yeah, maybe I'll just do a 4 by 4. Where's my little mark there? Just cut it on across this way. And so where's my mark there? I know I had one. That's not exactly straight, but it's good enough. And what I'm proposing to do is I want to do a little woven piece on the front of here, I think. So I'm going to, let's see about how much of this I think I'll need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to get a goodly amount so I don't run out. And I'm just going to tie a knot in the end here. Oops. Just double it. And I'm going to pick a needle that this will fit on, and that's the one I'll use for my book binding. I may have to get one. I might have one in my little tray here. I think one of these will do it. This one's really sharp. Let me use that one. I'm going to kind of figure out where I want to put this string, and I'm going to do a little weaving on here. And I'm going to use this as my weaving tool. So let me make myself a little pattern here. If this is 4, so I'm going to say this one's going to be the middle here. I'm probably going to need to use something that's going to leave a darker dot than that. So I'm going to actually need to see that. To about maybe here. And I'm just guessing on this, okay? And then I've got 2 inches here. So I might go over 3/4 of an inch. And then about maybe 3/4 of an inch. And I don't know if I'll need to do more in there or not. I thought I saw someone walking toward my studio, and I thought they were going to come in. I was going to say, I'm filming! So what I'm going to do is, let me poke holes where those holes are. I'm going to poke some holes. I may need to do, I think this will be enough though. I don't think I'll need more than that. I could do one in between each one of those to make it, but I think this will be fine. Okay, so I'm coming up through the bottom. And you might want to put a little dab of glue to hold that, but I don't think it'll pull through. And I'm just going straight down to the next one. Oops. Without getting it tangled. I'm going over to the hole beside that one. I can get in it now. These are just going to be my warp threads for weaving. And then I'm going to go over here. Now that I'm looking at this, it might have been better if I'd poked the holes on the top of these ridges than down in them, but I think it'll be okay. And I'm just keep going over to the next one at the bottom, and I'm just going up and down. You can see. I'm just going up and down until I get to the last one. Then I'll go over to this one at the top and back down. I'm just making a little loom here, basically. Okay. And so you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 threads there. And I'm going to knot this one off. And I will probably secure that with a little bit of glue or tape or something, just to make sure that those don't come undone. I'll probably just stick a little tape on there, some masking tape or something. And this is where I'm going to want to cut. I want to use some pieces of that tea bag. And I want to use some pieces of the paper and maybe the book page. And I don't really need to tape these, but I guess I will since I'm taping. Just kind of hold everything in place. They don't really need it, but okay. I've got that done. Now I want to get a little bit of my papers here. So this one, and I'm going to cut some of these down. I'll probably just use my trimmer because that would be faster. Trim these down to maybe like 1/4 of an inch. They don't need to be very wide. Just some little small strips of paper. I want some book page, and I want some of the wrapping paper, and some of the tea bag, and just pretty much anything that I've gotten here that could be interesting. And you might want a little, like a little stick or a barbecue skewer or something that you could use to kind of lay under these strings to hold them up, or a little strip of cardboard or something that makes it a little easier to do your weaving. Or you could just take your needle, you know, something to do this just to kind of hold them up. It needs to be longer than that. I usually keep these barbecue skewers in my studio so I can, you know, like I said, even just a piece of cardboard, something to lift these up that's going to make your weaving go easier. I'm going to stick those in there because that kind of holds it up, and you can move it wherever you're kind of weaving at, okay? And I'm going to start with a book page, if I can get a hold of one. And this is like, you know, placemat kindergarten wrapping, over, under, over, under. You know, I'm going under this one, over this one, under this one, over that one, under that one. You know, just over, under, under. And that is all this is that kind of a thing. And we're just going to slide that all the way up to the top, like that. And I'm just going to, pull that, I don't want that word right there on there. And I'm just going to pluck the ends off a little bit. And while you're working with this, you might want to take a little bit of glue and just right where it's going to touch in a couple places, you might want to put just a little bit of, you know, just a dab of glue there, and then pull it up into place. And that kind of is going to hold it, since this isn't going to be a real tight weave. So you're going to do book page, and then I'm going to take some wrapping paper, and now this time, since I went under there, I'm going to go over it and under this one and over this one and under this one and over the next one. And I'm going to put a couple little dots of glue where that's going to touch on some of these ridges. You could just dot, you know, across it like that. And I'm going to pull this up and put it in place. Now, I'm going to do a tea bag. And since I started this one over, this one will go under and over and under and over and under. And really, I think this probably could have used tighter in between here, but I just didn't want it to be too, like, you know, too loose, difficult for me. My hands with this stuff I've got, sometimes it makes it really difficult. So, and when we're done, we'll lift up these ends and kind of do that. And just weave however you want to. Like, I could try some, let me try some of this string. So I'm going to go over, under, over, under, over. And then I'm going to actually go back again with that same string. Oh, I'm getting everything tied up. Let me push all this extra stuff back. It's all sticking to everything. Okay. There we go. Okay, now we got that string in there. Go back and I'll go under, over, under, over, under. And like I said, you can do this as tight of a weave as you want. I'm not going to pull it all the way through because I want the ends to be out where I can cut them. And that gives a little texture in there. Scissors. Cut that in apart and take the needle off. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue in there too underneath those, and then I'll push that string up to it. And I'm just literally going across that whole thing, just dotting that glue across there so that it catches everything. And that's going to put a little bit more texture in there with those kind of loose, kind of push that down because it's sticking to my fingers. It won't stick to that. There we go. And then you could even take some of your ink on some of these book pages. Put your book page down and hold it and pull it through, pressing it on that ink pad, and you'll get ink on both sides of it without ink in your hands, and that gives you another look in there too. So we'll do one of these dark ones. So I'm starting here, so I'm going to go, let's see, that one's under, over, under, over, under, over, and I think you get the gist of what I'm doing here. So I'm probably going to stop this for just a minute, finish up this weaving, and then come back and show you what we're going to do with this. Okay, so here's how my little weaving came out. Didn't need all those pieces that I have there. And I'm just going to kind of gently tear this excess off. I'm just going to hold it and tear it down a little bit. They can be even, uneven, whatever, however you want them to be. That pieces need to stick in that glue. Okay. And then I'm going to take some glues, probably just matte gel medium, and you can use whatever you have, Elmer's glue or, you know, white glue, something that dries clear. And I'm going to go across this. I'll trim these just slightly. A couple of those are long. And I want to go across this to give it some stability so it doesn't come undone. And then I'm going to go out and look at my other piece. I'm going to try to brush across those ends too and see how it came out. Whoops. Just enough to kind of get that everything sort of stuck down, so I'm not going to lose any papers off of there is the main thing. I think that looks good. Okay, let me go and check our piece of paper our cover that we painted and see how it's doing. Okay, that is one coat of paint right there. Let's go ahead and do a second and see if it'll... I'm hoping that it starts covering some of that red. I didn't plan on the book having any red on it, but we'll see. Let's just see. Okay, here's my little woven piece that I want to use on the cover. And I don't like so much of this showing here. And since I have a little bit of leeway, I'm going to tear a little bit of that off without tearing close enough that it'll tear my, tear down so it won't, pull my threads out. I don't want that, I don't want it to come undone. But I've got enough leeway there to kind of tear that down and give it a little bit more of a rugged edge. I'm not liking that just flat edge. Some of this white is that tape, and I'll cut that off from where I taped the back of it. And that gives me a little woven piece I like for the front. And I'll look at some imagery to see kind of what we want to do with that. And cut those tapes off. I'll take this and I'm going to go ahead and ink on that cardboard a little bit and kind of define it a little bit. I like that better. I might do some light inking on here, not a lot, just kind of where those threads are. There. Quite happy with that. A little. Okay, and you could use this piece either this way or this way, depending on how you want this to go on the front of your book. Say if this was your book, this is going to be inserted on the front, and then we'll decorate it. So I guess I'll pause until my cover dries and then come back and see if we can finish up the cover. Okay, I forgot about these pages. We did not finish the insides of these with anything. So what I want to do is, on this outside we've already put matte medium to seal that. And I haven't done anything about sealing this side of it, or adding any kind of a decoration or a journaling spot or something on the insides of these pages here. Now you could just take your tea bags and cut them down if you want to. You could do a tea bag on there and cover that with matte medium, and that is something you can write on. You could do the same thing with the pieces of napkin that we had, or but I think I'm probably going to attach something, so all I'm going to do to mine right now is just to I'm thinking that there will be other little things that I'll want to attach on there. But before I do that, I do want to cover the inside of this, and that's just going to strengthen and protect, because this is, even though this is a cloth-like paper towel, it's still a paper towel. And so you need a coat of something on there to help stabilize and make it sturdy. So I'm going to do that on the backs of all these pages and let them dry, and that gets them prepped. And I just totally forgot that they were laying over there. I turned around and I thought, oh, that's something that needs to be done, because these need to dry, of course, before we can sew them in the book. So anyway, I'll be back as soon as my cover's dry. Okay, my cover's about dry. It's got a couple little dents. That right there, I was trying to wipe it a little bit, and I wiped some of the paint, but that's okay, because this is gonna cover it up when it's on my cover. You can see that this is super duper white. So I'm gonna take some ink to it and ink that outer edge, and then I'm gonna kind of gently, there's a little string hanging off there. I'm going to gently rub my sponge across here to get more of a, see how it's really bringing out that texture in this? I'm going to just lightly, and making little circles, rub over this to give me sort of a burlap look. That's a really great texture for this. I really like it. It's a good texture for the front of this book, and it's good strengthening, because it's plastic. And with the 3 coats of paint, I ended up, I'm not sure if I said that or not, I did do 3 coats. I felt like it needed it, so I ended up doing 3 coats. And I'm going to let this ink thoroughly dry, and then I'm thinking about running this through my machine and just zigzagging the entire edge of the book. Go ahead and get those outer edges. And I really like the texture on this. I think that gives it a really cool texture. And even those onion bags that have more of the diamond, or or apple bags, or whatever, fruit or vegetables you get, those would be really pretty done like this. That one piece just does not want to lay down. But I keep reminding myself it's okay, because it's going to be covered up. I pressed a little hard to get a little bit of a circle there. But who knows, we may decorate the spine, and some of that will be covered up anyway because of the binding, so it's not a big deal. But I do think I will sew this, because I'm afraid that this is, I'm just worried about the edges not sticking down. So I'll probably let this dry again to get the glue all dried, and then run it through my sewing machine. And the other side doesn't have as much paint on it as I thought, and I think I'm going to leave it alone. I'll just do a little inking on it once I get this side inked. And just kind of get that down in those grooves there. Now I'll just go back over it. And this did get a little paint on it. I don't know, maybe I should recover it, but I was thinking maybe I could just ink over any areas where the paint is and just go with it. I shouldn't have. It doesn't look so bad if you ink over that, so I think I'll leave it. Save myself some headache. Here, I'll just ink over that white so it's not quite so white, and it's fine. That'll just be another little texture to the book. How's that? I'll just say that's more texture. I think I'm about due for another sponge. Okay, I'm going to pause you, run over there and run this through my machine, and then I'll be back and we'll look at the cover. Okay, I really feel like that gives this book a more finished edge. I'm going to try to trim that's sticking up. It's not going to show when I glue my cover down, but that one piece keeps sticking up. But I do like the way it came out with the stitching. kind of gives it a little bit more of a finished edge to it. I think it's going to give it more stability, all these layers, and it looks like it's going to work great. It is a slightly softer cover book because this isn't thick cardboard, it's just a cereal box with paper and mesh, so it's sort of a semi-soft journal cover, but I think it'll be fine. Make sure I've got this paint off of me before that's dry. So I was thinking this would go on my cover somewhere. I'm trying to decide if I want it to go, I'm pretty sure it's going to go this way. But what I was looking at is, did I want to stitch here down the book, or do I think it looks okay without that? And this is a bird image that I cut off the dust jacket of the book that I had, and that kind of fades in because it's really matchy-matchy, so I'm going to want to build that out a little bit with some layers. But that is essentially what I'm doing for my book cover. At this moment, I don't really intend, I'm hoping I don't have to put a closure, but that's something I can add. So I'm going to put this aside and call this part done, because I love to do the last pieces of my book as like my final thing. So at least I have the cover done here for that. Now if you want to go ahead and decorate yours, I like to decorate mine later. Oh, I got my studio door open and the wind just whipped through here. It's going to blow everything off the desk. You can do that. And I think I'll stop right here on this one since we've got a few little things done. And then we can come back and start sewing in our signatures and decorating the journal. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you around the studio.